Do you know that nearly 50 million Americans struggle with hearing loss? I'm 78, but I can hear like I was 27. Let me show you how these men went from constantly asking, "What? Can you repeat?" to hearing perfectly, even in noisy restaurants, without expensive hearing aids and endless appointments in just 14 days. The hairs inside your inner ear are not actually hairs in the way that you think. They are these tiny filaments called stereocilia that are the top part of hair cells, and they move around in a fluid inside a spiral bone in your ear called the cochlea. The sounds around you are sent through your ear, they pass through your eardrum and a series of tiny bones, and then are turned into waves in the fluid of the cochlea. The stereocilia send messages to your brain depending on how they move in the fluid, just like seaweed drifting this way and that way in the ocean current. They read the movement of these waves and pass that information to your brain, where you can use it to understand the sound all around you. But here's the crazy part. These stereocilia are so accurate that they can detect if they move just one atom in distance. It's amazing. However, because they're not actual hairs, this means that as you age and they get damaged, they don't regrow like a regular hair would. Sadly, this is a problem for all mammals because birds, fish, and reptiles can all regrow these cells, so they don't experience hearing loss as they age. It's just us humans and our cats, dogs, and other mammals that have to deal with it. And you've probably already noticed that the first sounds you lose are higher frequency sounds. This means women and children are harder to understand than men because their voices are higher. But it's also why certain letters become harder to pick up. Consonants like S's and hard K's are much higher frequency than the low vibration of a vowel like an O or an R. You can try it for yourself, just if you try a few and compare it to something like an O or an R, you can easily hear that those hard consonants are much higher pitched than the low vowels. And the problem is, when you lose some of those consonants, it doesn't just mean that you lose a letter here and there from a sentence. No, it means you really struggle to tell where one word ends and another one begins. So even if you hear most of the sounds that someone is saying, it's like you've lost your navigation. When humans talk, we're not actually listening to every single sound the other person says. Your brain is constantly modeling and predicting and spotting patterns to kind of fill in the blanks all the time. That's how you're able to process this information so quickly, and why, even if someone speaks with a different accent or a tone that you're not used to, your brain can still work out what they're saying pretty easily. But as you age and you lose those higher frequencies, you lose so much information when you miss some of those consonant sounds. And now you actually have to listen to every sound and try to use that to understand the meaning. This is why you find it so much more tiring to listen to people than before when you have hearing loss. Conversations when you have good hearing are a passive process. You just do it without thinking. But when you have hearing loss, if you want to talk to someone, you have to actively put in effort. It's stressful and it's exhausting. And a lot of that is down to losing these higher frequencies. So why is it that we lose these higher frequency sounds first? Well, your cochlea is shaped in this spiral, and the stereocilia down here near the opening are the ones that pick up the higher frequencies. The further round you go, the lower the frequencies they pick up. So the lower frequency stereocilia are just better protected at the heart of the cochlea, as the waves of fluid have to travel right round the spiral, losing energy as they do. Nearer the opening, they take more damage, and so you lose those higher frequencies first. It's just like waves hitting the beach. The further up the beach you go, the more protected you are. So what can we do about it? Well, let's look at what's happening in the hearing loss industry today, because for hundreds of years, the only solution to hearing loss has been to increase the volume of the sound that's coming into your ears. It started with horns that you'd hold to your ear to capture more of the sound. Then, in the 20th century, we built microphones and amplifiers that would capture the sound and boost the volume. And over time, we went from huge boxes you would have to carry around like a suitcase to the classic hearing aid you see wrapped around people's ears. For many years, the only real advancements in hearing aids was seeing how small they could be made while still having a big enough battery so they could be used all day. But there was still a huge problem, and solving this problem was the reason why, until very recently, hearing aids have cost thousands and thousands of dollars and have needed costly tests and doctor visits on top of that. So, what's the problem? Well, as we talked about before, when you lose your stereocilia with age, it's like losing some of your sound navigation. Your brain has spent your entire life learning what sounds to focus on and what sounds to ignore, and now that model your brain has doesn't work anymore, and you find it harder and harder to separate people speaking from all the other noise happening around you. In fact, as you lose your hearing,
This is often why it's so hard to hear what people are saying. Your ears receive most of the sound you need, but it all becomes much more mixed together. So, older hearing aids would just boost the volume of the sound, exactly like turning up the speakers on a stereo. But the problem is, this also boosted all of the background noise too, and because the quality of the speaker in old hearing aids was bad, it made it really difficult for your brain to separate what was a human voice and what was just noise. The hearing aids made sound in your ears louder, but it also made it much more difficult for your brain to process these sounds like it normally does. And this is why all modern hearing aids need a sound chip. It's not enough to just boost the volume. A great hearing aid has to immediately improve the clarity and quality of the sounds so that it's easy to focus on the most important part, the human voice. That means that this chip must be able to adjust to the different sounds coming into your ear. Is it a busy restaurant? Are you watching TV? Is someone calling you from far away or talking quietly nearby? The chip has to be able to make these improvements in real time so that it can only send the most useful sounds directly into your ear. So, that is why these chips are so important, but it's also why getting help with your hearing loss has been incredibly expensive for so long. In most cases, it's not even covered by insurance, so you have to find thousands and thousands of dollars of your own money to pay for just the cheapest hearing aid you can afford. Most of the technology in a hearing aid is quite simple. The tiny microphones and amplifiers are easy and cheap to make. That's why there are billions of smartphones around the world. And the batteries have gotten better and better, so now a tiny device can easily stay charged for 20 hours or more. But the chips were expensive. Not only did they take a lot of research to develop and manufacture, but also huge teams of researchers had to program them so that they were able to read and adjust the sound of the world around you. And they weren't perfect either. Even with good technology, you still needed to have an ear test and get your hearing aid set up and adjusted for you. This added a huge amount of cost because all these middlemen had to get paid along the way. Pay the chip maker, pay the hearing aid manufacturer, pay the ear doctor, pay the hearing aid tech to check and adjust the aid, pay all the salespeople to make you choose one doctor or that one hearing aid. That's a lot of hands in the pot. And that's how the average hearing aid price now has reached $4,672. But that's crazy, isn't it? Look how advanced smartphones are, and these all have the same sensors and chips and so much more. So how have this one company called Nebrew managed to make a high-quality hearing aid that you can buy directly from their site for under $100? How is it possible that they can make the sound so clear in your ear without needing a single hearing test? You just take it out the case, put it in your ear, and it works. Conversations become clear and easy to follow. You hear people call you immediately from across the house. In busy environments, it's easy to pick out the people you want to listen to. TV sounds sharp and clear. Music on the radio is a pleasure again. And this is how they did it. Inside every Nebrew hearing aid is the Vox Humana chip, designed and programmed to improve the human voice in any scenario and send crystal clear, clean audio deep into your ear. Just 10 years ago, this would have taken huge teams of researchers, costing millions of dollars in development costs, which pushed the price of hearing aids to such high levels. But now, because of the innovations in how we can analyze data and build advanced models of how the ear works, all on a regular computer, this has made it possible to take huge volumes of sound data from every kind of real-world scenario and learn exactly what adjustments needed to be made to boost the human voice for maximum clarity. This enabled Nebrew to design, program, and sell the hearing aid directly to you with zero middlemen and almost no development costs thanks to the advancements in data technology. The chip has also been developed to use the minimal power possible, which is how it's possible to create a tiny device that slips right into your ear canal and becomes almost invisible to anyone who you talk to. There's no bulky case sitting behind your ear that not only looks awkward but also becomes uncomfortable. But Nebrew's small, smooth design sits comfortably in your ear for hours, so you would forget it was there if it wasn't for the shock at how much your hearing has improved and the huge impact that has on your daily happiness. In fact, to your friends and family, it will seem like your hearing just miraculously got better and you are back to your old self, almost by magic. If you don't want to tell them your secret, that's up to you. But there is one catch. You are only able to get the Nebrew for under $100 for a limited time. Our goal was to completely change the hearing aid market to drive prices down for everyone, as hearing loss is a problem that could affect all of us at some point in our life. So we're offering a 50% discount on our Pro hearing aid. But as the big hearing aid brands and world-famous technology manufacturers realize people are no longer willing to pay the thousands of dollars that they demand, they're going to try and put pressure on companies like ours, and it will make it hard to keep the same discount. So please don't miss this deal while it's on.
These hearing aids are so easy, So comfortable and very, very clear. Just a real quality product. I've seen hearing aids that are 10 or 20 times the price and they look like something out of the 1970s. These things are like a perfect piece of modern design, and the sound technology is just incredible. I don't know how they make something so small sound so clear.
These hearing aids are really superb. They fit my ears perfectly and they're super comfortable. The best part is how they cut out all the background noise, because that's what was giving me the most difficulty before. I couldn't understand anything in a noisy room. Now it's easy. I know most hearing aids are thousands of dollars. My friend had to buy one that her doctor recommended, and it was about $3,500. She was sick when I told her that mine were literally more than 10 times cheaper, and mine are way smaller. Hers kind of stick out of her ear. They come with their own little charging dock, and I get 20 hours wear out of each charge.
It makes a tremendous difference. Everything is crystal clear.